Hump Day, Coffee Coochies conversation. This is Cheryl, your favorite coffee coochie. A little bit afternoon, running late because we changed the studio a little bit today. I am here working solo, doing what I'm going to tell you is my TED Talk, my Cheryl Talk. And what we're going to talk about today is sleep, the quality of sleep, and why sleep is so important. Important to good health. I tell people around me they call it beauty sleep for a reason. For those of you that don't know me and would not know why I would know anything about sleep and be able to speak about sleep, it's because in 2002 I became a hypnotherapist. And the ancient Greek word for hypnosis is the word hypnos. I don't know if you know that or not, Sonny. Hypnos is an old word, and it goes back even to the Roman times. And there was a word that was called sambas that also is tied into hypnosis or somnambulism. When a person goes into a trance and then doesn't remember anything they did, for instance, in one of my comedy shows, that's a somnambulist, and they're in a deep trance. In my training, we talked about the history of hypnosis as it is written down. And one of the references my trainer gave us was that in the first chapter of the Bible, or in the first book of the Bible, Adam was put into a deep sleep and his rib was removed. And the first applications of hypnosis up until the 19-somethings was for pain management, was for surgical. The first documented hypnosis goes back to 1794. That was a little dyslexia with the 19, to 1794. And there was a young boy that had a brain tumor, needed to be operated on. And at that time, they didn't have ether, they didn't have anything, but what they had was distraction. So his mom told him stories. And what happened was he obviously survived that surgery and healed and grew up. And when he did, him and his brother put those stories down on paper. And those stories are what people know today as grim fairy tales. So I'm going to encourage you, if you all have questions about sleep, to please get on the chat, ask the questions. I have been a certified clinical hypnotherapist for 20 years now, doing hypnosis. At one time, I had a clinic in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and we were seeing over 100 people a week. I was specializing, this is where the yay background music, background sounds. I was saying I had two hypnotists working for me. It's not as good when you have to ask for it. Yeah. I had a couple of hypnotherapists working for me, one licensed clinical social worker who did some PTSD work and things like that. And then my secretary was actually one of my clients that came in, and she went from a size 22, 24 down to a size 12, 14. So I'm going to show you some of my full page. That really, it deserves applause. And so she was just one of my clients that came in. And some of the other clients that came in, you can see I used to run full page ads in the newspaper. And there's Frank on top and Bob below. And there's Frank there. I'm sorry, that was Bob. Frank and his wife, as you hear me hitting the microphone. Me with Frank and Bob. Me with Frank and his wife. And just some more. So I've been doing this a long time, and I understand sleep. I understand A-type people. I love A-types that come in and they say, I can't relax. And within 10 minutes, I have them leaning over and drool coming out one side of their mouth. So you can relax, but let's step back a minute. That I first going to put that disclaimer out there. I am not a medical doctor. I am not intending to diagnose. I am not qualified to diagnose anybody with any medical condition. I am going to be talking about the psychosomatic, the mind-body connection. The word together, psychosomatic, one part of that being mind, the other part being body. And it is real. You know, if someone says it's all in your head, oftentimes that's where it all begins, is right up here. So that's another thing I want to talk about is, and I'm giving like a consult if I was working with you as a client, and it's how our brain processes information versus how we speak as human beings. And the way we speak isn't always conducive to how we process the information. Sonny, did you know that our brain does not hear the word do or don't?
That's news to me.
It only hears the action word that follows afterwards, which is why when you say to a kid, don't slam the door, and what does the kid do? They slam the door, and then as the parent, you want to pull your hair out and say, why are you not listening to me? And I'm going to say, you got exactly what you asked for. I am living proof of this. Even knowing this, I am guilty of sometimes using the wrong language in my own head. For instance, if you want to be early for an appointment, what happens if you focus on not being late, Sonny? Oh, guaranteed. You'll make the wrong turn. You'll forget something. You'll drop something. Spill coffee on your shirt. You'll do something to create that late, because that is what your brain heard when you spoke to it. Our thoughts are how we go about our day, how we go about our lives. They are our internal GPS. And you can set your GPS with your thoughts. It's that simple. But also understanding that as we go through our life, we pick up certain ideas, certain thoughts, certain belief systems, and we automatically, habitually, then sometimes without thinking, do these habits or create this thinking of saying to ourselves, don't be late, instead of saying to ourselves, I'm going to be early. Our brain works like a magnifying glass. We are going to get what we focus on, and it's actually going to come and be bigger, and we're going to actually attract it to us. So my suggestion is to, if you hear yourself saying something negative, to find the positive in that. And that is part of my training as a hypnotherapist. I will tell you that, hi Carla Jean, that's right. Our thoughts really are creating our reality. We do walk around on automatic pilot. I say and have been saying for years, I spend more time dehypnotizing my clients than hypnotizing them. They are walking around hypnotized. I'm actually dehypnotizing them. So we have the ability to accept or reject information all the time. And if we are not actively rejecting the information, we are automatically accepting that information. And as little kids, we don't necessarily have the ability, the experience, the critical thinking, the development in our brains to have the critical thought that this person is being a jerk. They don't know what they're talking about. They're putting their bad day off on me. And so we pick up things that don't necessarily belong to us. They aren't ours as a little kid. And so we'll carry those beliefs around, and hopefully as we go through life, we're able to shed those because they should have been rejected. But again, we didn't have the ability, the capacity, the knowledge, the experience to reject that statement or that information. So yes, you have the ability to accept or reject anything, including even what I'm telling you today. My volunteers on stage, if I'm doing a comedy hypnosis show, they have the ability to reject the suggestions. People can argue under hypnosis. And many people don't realize that, of course. If I'm saying something to you and you're hypnotized and it does not land right, if it does not agree with your belief systems, you will reject that and even come out of hypnosis. So my job as a hypnotherapist is to talk to you, to understand your obstacles, where you're coming from, and to help you facilitate and achieve your goal. You know what you need. I'm just helping you find what all you need. And I'm offering suggestions as a hypnotist. That's what they're called. But as getting back to this sleep thing, we label ourselves. And sometimes we label ourselves inappropriately. Other times they're very appropriate. And our labels are what we believe about ourselves, what we call ourselves. And so I've got a couple labels in front of me. One of the big ones I wear, and I keep it close to my heart, I'm a mom, I'm a hypnotist, I'm also a friend, a daughter, a sister, I am a lot of other things. So that one, that one's kind of hard to get to. You're not going to necessarily take that label away from me. I also wear a label that sometimes I'm proud to wear because I have a background, a nationality of being German. German people are known for being stubborn. And people say that like it's a bad thing. It's a good quality. It's why we've survived. So if you're under hypnosis with me, I'm actually going to use your stubbornness to my advantage. I'm also, I believe, an optimistic person. So I can label myself that way. I'm an optimistic person. And I create these labels. People create them for me, and I walk around and I believe them. But there are times when labels are put on that are not appropriate, that aren't right, and they don't belong. And I'm going to ask you, as a part of your labeling, when you're doing self-hypnosis, when we're having this talk today, that you remove some of the labels that are not appropriate, that don't fit. And maybe there's a label that hasn't even been put on yet, and you don't know exactly what it's going to say. Maybe it's a label that says, I'm an insomniac, or I don't sleep well. Let's get to the basics of that and how you can take off these labels. Hi, Steve. You can take off a lot of different labels that are not appropriate for you, doing mental visualizations, guided imagery, and components of hypnosis. But basically, human beings make decisions based on experience. So when we're talking about sleep, as long as you're not talking about something physiological, if someone's got a bad prostate and they're waking up and they need to go pee, hypnosis isn't going to override that. If you're drinking your drinks, whatever it happens to be, even your healthy water, right up to you go to sleep and you wake up to pee, hypnosis isn't going to override that. If you're on a medication that actually inhibits sleep, hypnosis isn't going to override that. If there's your hormones, if the female hormones are interfering, menopause, hypnosis isn't going to override that. If you are on Century Up, hypnosis is going to help you with that. If you're that person that is used to being alone, used to listening to the kids, needing to be awake, feeling like you need to be awake, hypnosis will help with that. If you are the person that says to yourself, I always wake up at 3 a.m., hypnosis is going to help with that. Now, if, for instance, you've got someone that drives by with a loud muffler every morning at 2:59, hypnosis isn't going to override that. But if you start saying to yourself, based on one experience, and that experience is you woke up at 3 a.m., whatever the time was, so then the next day you say to yourself, I hope I don't wake up at 3 a.m., 3:30. Your brain is getting that message, wake up at 3 a.m., 3:30. So in my office, putting someone to sleep is one of the easiest things to do. I would send them home with a success sheet to bring back the following week with all the good things on the top and what you still want to work on the bottom. And on the top, 99% would say they were sleeping better. And we know how important good quality sleep is for good health, good mental attitude, your immune system, just on and on and on. So even weight loss, it is key for weight loss. So the good quality sleep wasn't necessarily something I focused on as a hypnotist, but because it is a component, it is what it is a benefit, that improved quality of sleep. So I would suggest to those people who came in and who would tell me that they didn't sleep well, they woke up the same time, that tonight when they go to sleep, they say to themselves something different. And something different can be a myriad of things. I am a good sleeper. I sleep better. I'm sleeping better and better. Every day I sleep better than I did the day before. And if they, for instance, are used to waking up and seeing that clock at 3:15, 3:20, imagine as you're going to sleep when you wake up in the morning, instead of seeing the time you used to see, you're seeing 4:30. And then the next time you're seeing 5:30. and the next time 6 a.m. Sometimes things are easier done in increments and baby steps. I use the example of when a builder is building a 2-story home. And if he did not put in the steps into the second floor, can you just imagine what it would be like trying to get to the second floor? And what would you do if there was no steps? And would you take the running leap? Would you find someone to help you? Would you need that leg up? Would you build something temporary? So the smart thing to do that the builder does is he puts in the steps. So sometimes steps is more realistic, especially if your body has gotten used to waking up at a certain time just out of habit. To imagine you're seeing yourself sleeping a little bit longer each and every night to where eventually you're sleeping 6 hours, you're sleeping 7 hours, 7.5 hours, the healthy sleep. And maybe even saying things like, I'm a good sleeper. Again, I am a big believer in beauty sleep. I think it's called beauty sleep for a reason, Sonny. I know if I don't get my sleep, I can get mighty ugly. And that's one of those labels that I know, I don't proudly wear it. But if I don't get my sleep, the shoe fits. So sleep is something that is vital. It is necessary. If you're working third shift, I work third shift. I know it's hard. You're coming home, your sleep cycles are off. So again, you might be somebody that sleeping in increments works better for you, especially if you're not physically tired. But also common sense. Make sure you have a good pillow. If your pillow isn't a good pillow, you're not going to get good sleep. If your mattress or your bed isn't a good one, you're not going to get good sleep. If your pet is waking you up in the middle of the night, we all love our pets. I have one that can stay and sleep and not wake me up, and the other one can't anymore because I need my sleep. So you take those into consideration. If there is that person that's going by with a loud muffler, making the noise at night, put on a fan, put on some background music, do something that allows yourself to block out that background music. In Alaska, that's 24 hours of daylight, and they make sure that they have those darkening windows for the room, that they have their sleep routine to help them to relax before they go to sleep. So I'm going to suggest to you, if you have racing thoughts, one of the things I want you to think about, and it may take practice, because the racing thoughts are a little bit like herding cats. And the harder you try, the harder it is. Also, the harder you try to sleep, the harder it is. I like to consider sleep a process of allowing. Allowing yourself to think about sleep, not sheep. Think about sleep. Because where your mind goes, your body automatically follows. So if you find yourself thinking about the grocery list, remind yourself, sleep. If you find yourself thinking about another to-do list, think about sleep. If you find yourself thinking about what the kids have got going on or some aggravation from the past, remind yourself to think about sleep. Now, if you're driving your car and you've heard me say sleep a few times, please get yourself back awake again. It's all about your energy, and you can bring it down. Another way, too, is be aware of your breathing. I was talking to a friend recently, and I asked her about matching breathing, and had she ever matched someone she was sleeping with and their breathing when they were in a deep sleep. Breathing when you're in a deep sleep, it's very different than my breathing now. That breathing is more even, more rhythmic, like the tide. Evenly in and evenly out. Versus my breathing now. And so allow yourself to slow down your breathing. Become aware of your breathing. Become aware of your thoughts. If they get off track, if they start racing off on you, remind yourself, it's time to sleep. Think about sleep. I like to imagine that I can put away today's cares, today's thoughts, the concerns, the burdens, the worries. I like to imagine I have a balloon, and it's a helium balloon, big one, and a helium balloon that I can put in the things I think I need to worry about, a balloon that I can shove in the things I'm supposed to worry about. And I put a string on my balloon, and it's really long, and I let it go. Now, the first times, I'm not going to lie, I pulled on the balloon because I thought I needed them to be there. Practice, I've learned. They'll be there if I want them. They'll be waiting in the morning. But for now, I set them aside. And I let myself think about sleep. So when I mentioned tools for sleep, hypnosis is just one tool for sleep. A good pillow, a good sleeping environment, not consuming caffeine before bed and then expecting yourself to fall asleep. If you are sleeping in an environment where it's daylight, again, like Alaska, get yourself a sleep mask. And you can see my sleep mask comes with a warning to not disturb my sleep. I am at 30 minutes. I've been on a train. I've been on an airplane under hypnosis. I've heard myself doing this. And the people on this other side whisper, oh, she's snoring. Oh, she's snoring. And I think to myself, I'm not snoring, but I'm way too relaxed to open my eyes and tell you any differently. And that makes the time on a train go by really fast. Time in an airplane go by really fast. Time in a dentist chair go by really fast. And even this time went by really too fast. So next week, and I do have more guests lined up. We just had, with the weather, which if you are from this area, you know we got hit really hard yesterday. And so that messed up today for some of us. I've got guests lined up to talk to us about their event center, plans they have, and you can possibly even rent that event center. Got another friend that's going to talk to us about his nonprofit and his mission. Got a great April lined up. My favorite therapist, your favorite therapist, won't be able because his April is super busy also, but we'll get him back in May. But I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Remember, if you have internet needs, if you have security needs, there's only one place in the Quad Cities to go to, and that's Done Right on West Locust, 1414 West Locust. You can give us a call, get on Facebook, and send a message, and we'll take care of those issues if, again, you're looking for internet or security cameras and even an e-bike because it's getting to be that time of the year. It's also getting to be racing season, so they're going to be live streaming some races. I'll talk to you guys next week on Wednesday. Peace, love, be good to yourself. Thanks. Bye. Thanks, Sonny.